Do you know that feeling of chemistry that you get with certain people? The kind of feeling that just lights you up from the inside and you feel incredibly drawn to this person. It sometimes can feel just right, like you're with the right person. And some people would even say that this feels like a soulmate attraction. Now, what if I were to tell you that this chemistry, this intoxicating feeling, is actually a warning sign, a red flag? Here's the thing, you guys, sometimes it is, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. When chemistry is actually a sign that you're with the wrong person. My disclaimer for this video, I have a lot of these disclaimers because the information I share is truly not for everyone. So if you have a history of healthy relationships and secure attachment, then this advice, this information is not going to be for you. It doesn't pertain to you. So just click off this video and don't listen to the rest of this. But if you have a history of toxic relationships, abuse, unhealthy relationship dynamics, this is for you. The feeling of chemistry is actually not what you want to go by. Let me talk about why here. When you have that history of toxic relationships or trauma, and you feel that intense chemistry, that intoxicating feeling, this is actually a sign that this person is familiar to you. Not that you know this person, but the dynamics of the relationship, the way they're being, the way they show up in the world, and the way that they make you feel is familiar. They are triggering this dysfunctional relationship dynamic that feels so intoxicating and so right, and I put this in quotes, it would have you feeling like this was your soulmate, like this is the person who you're supposed to be with. Until weeks or months or sometimes even years down the road when you are heartbroken and devastated because this turned out to be another toxic relationship. And you might have this moment of going, how did something so right end up so wrong? How did something that felt so good initially go so badly? Anytime you have this feeling with someone, like it's quote unquote right, or this person feels like home, when your home was an unsafe place to be, is a sign that this person is just recreating those familiar dynamics from your childhood. Now, I don't want to scare you here. It doesn't mean that if you're with a healthy person, it's not going to feel right. That's a whole other video. I'm going to talk about that another time. But if you have just met someone and you have this instant feeling of chemistry, attraction, and a feeling of rightness, and you have a history of toxic relationships in your past, then this probably is not the right person for you. When you have that feeling of rightness or this feeling of like your home, that is an indicator that, again, this person is recreating those familiar dynamics that you experienced in your own home. And it's a sign that this person is not for you. For example, if you had a mother who was abusive, because of the way our brains work, we are drawn and wired to go towards what is familiar to us. So if you had an abusive mother, you're actually going to be unconsciously drawn towards those same dynamics, and you're going to be drawn towards people who in some way remind you of your mother, that difficult experience with her. Abuse will probably feel comfortable. It'll feel familiar. Even though it hurts, even though it's painful and it feels scary, it still on some level feels comfortable. It's inside our comfort zone. And very often when we've had a history of abuse or neglect or trauma in our past, again, we are just drawn like a magnet to people who make us feel those familiar feelings. It's not our fault. It's simply because of what's going on in our unconscious and how our brains are wired. And another part of this dynamic here is that we are also influenced by mass media. We are influenced by the culture around us. And a lot of our media and a lot of society tells us that real love is this big, intense chemistry. It's these intense emotions, this feeling of you know when you know, this feeling of rightness, And so we come to believe that when we feel that with a person, it must mean they're right for us. We are conditioned by pretty much everything around us to follow that pull of intoxicating chemistry. I can't even tell you, I watched Netflix and I saw so many things recently, so many TV shows, so many movies that have that exact script. There's the big feelings and we are supposed to follow them. That's how the story goes. And then there's the happy ending in the movie, right? Or the TV show. But that's not often how it ends up in real life. In real life, when we have that background of difficult relationships and we follow that intoxicating, intense chemistry, it goes badly most of the time. So at this point, you might be wondering, well, okay, if I can't go by chemistry, then what am I supposed to go by? What do we actually look for to be able to find a healthy relationship? I'm going to go into that in a second, but I want to put out another disclaimer here. I'm talking about chemistry in relationships. This doesn't mean that in a healthy relationship, you're not going to have any chemistry or attraction. That's not true either. There's a gray area in between no chemistry, no attraction, and the intense attraction and chemistry. In a healthy relationship, yeah, you want to have some chemistry with your partner and you want to have some attraction. But the difference here is that's not the only thing that you're going by. When you're making the transition from toxic to healthy relationships, you are looking at attraction and chemistry, but you're not making that the sole guideline for your decision for who to be with. That's just one aspect. There's a lot of other things that you want to look for, and that's what I'm going to talk about here. You're not blindly following that chemistry to the exclusion of everything else. And if you've done that, hey, I get it. I've been there too. It's okay. But now here's your chance to shift it. Here's your chance to shift to a healthier way of dating. So what else do we look for? One of the most important things to look for is their character. What does this mean? How do you feel around this person? Do you feel safe? Are they trustworthy? Do they have integrity? Meaning, do they do what they say they're going to do? Like if they say, hey, I'm going to call you tomorrow, do they actually call you tomorrow? Can you trust their word? Are they kind to you? Do they have compassion and empathy? These are the kinds of things we want to look for in a person. Their character, who they are as a person, and how they treat other people. The next thing that you want to pay attention to are their values. Do they have the same values as you? This requires you first getting clear on what your values are, what you're looking for out of dating. And then determine whether this person has the same values or has most of the same values. And one example of this is what you both want out of dating. Maybe you want a serious relationship. The other person would have to have that same value too. Do you want to get married someday? See if they do too. Do you value the same things in life? Another example of this would be if you want your life to revolve around traveling, meeting new people, seeing new places, does this person want the same thing? Finances are also a big thing. Do they spend money the same way that you do or close enough to where it can work long term? Values are so important because the research has actually shown that shared values is one of the most important things that make a relationship last for a long time. Not fun activities that you do together or not even attraction. It's those shared values that keep people together long term. And the last thing here that you want to pay attention to is, do you actually like this person? Now, I know this may seem like, well, obviously I like this person because I'm with them, but I would challenge you on that. Because sometimes we're with somebody, again, when we felt that intoxicating chemistry, it might be not that we actually like them, but we just feel so taken by them. We're so, again, intoxicated. We're so drawn to them, but maybe we don't actually like them as a person. Maybe we don't truly respect who they are. So when you're dating, ask yourself, put all the chemistry aside, all the good feelings aside. Do you truly like who they are and respect who they are as a person? Another thing to consider in this category is, do they bring out the best in you? Do they make you feel good about yourself? Not that our self-esteem or our self-worth is dependent on somebody, but are they making your life better? Or are you constantly anxious? Are you insecure in this relationship where you weren't before? Do you constantly feel bad? That's something that we want to pay attention to. We want someone who brings out the best in us and who makes us feel good most of the time in the relationship. Because no relationship is perfect. Even the healthiest relationship is going to have conflicts. There's going to be ups and downs. But in general, does this person make your life better, or do they make it worse? If you want to know the number one most important shift you can make to go from toxic to healthy relationships, click here, I have a video for you, and click here to subscribe. I come out with new videos every single week to help you break the cycle of toxic relationships, heal, and find real love.